What's happening, everybody? Welcome in Bets and Ball Games with Edwards and Greeson. We're recording on Friday, June 7th, getting close to noon Eastern. And let's get started by telling you about Bet Online, your number one source for the NBA Finals and Stanley Cup Finals this year. Every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Use promo code BELIEVE, that's all caps, BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online. The game starts here. All right. Jay Greeson joining us from Chattanooga. What's up, my man?
Another beautiful day in Zamunda, as Prince Hakeem would say in Coming to America. Uh, I don't know if I'd have ever left the bathtub if I had
I
been
don't know that
Prince
I would have.
Hakeem, and I just have been made. My daughter, we've got a swimming pool. My daughter calls it getting stripey when you've been in the water too long. I would have been perpetually stripey if I was Prince Hakeem.
Yes. The Royal is clean.
Yes.
Yes. All right. So today is LSU Tigers football day. We'll do our preview. We'll go over the schedule, personnel, maybe even look back at last year, which was very good to us from an LSU.
Hey, Gio Tigers.
Uh,
Hey, they were. You're a Florida grad. I'm an Auburn grad, but by God, the LSU Tigers were our second favorite team across college football last year.
Amen to that. Besides LSU, not a ton going on. We'll hit on the NBA Finals a little bit. We've got 5 SEC teams in the College World Series. We've got some familiar SEC names that are up for the College Football Hall of Fame that we will also hit on, and might even tap myself on the back for some UFC picks from last week. Let's start with the some of these Hall of Fame names. My guy Alex Brown of 1998 or 9, where he had 5 sacks against the Vols. I was there. That literally won that football game for us. Oscar Mayer Liar is up for Hall of Fame. I mean, he has to get in, but God, if it's a scumbag Hall of Fame, he's a first ballot as well.
Well, he is one of the marquee names that are on the ballot for the first time this year, and he's not even the biggest because recently retired Alabama coach, some fella named Nick Saban, is also on the ballot. And I know baseball does I'm not going to say a better job, but baseball has always been more numbers driven. And for years and years and years, it was always Tom Seaver had the highest percentage of first ballot votes. And then Mariano Rivera was unanimous. And everybody made a big deal about that because Babe Ruth wasn't unanimous. And Ty Cobb didn't even get in on the first ballot. And Hank Aaron wasn't unanimous. And all of these other things, and they talk about comparing eras. If Nick Saban is not unanimous, whoever does not vote for him, and this is coming from an Auburn graduate who's wearing a Charles Barkley shirt, actually. If Nick Saban is not unanimous, anybody who does not vote for him must surrender their ballot. It is non-negotiable in my mind because he is the greatest who's ever done it or whoever will do it. And that is, in my mind, as big a statement in college football that I can make, period, and I have zero reservations about it.
Now, was Tebow one of the names that's on there?
No, Tebow's already been inducted. But another first ballot guy this year is Aaron Donald, who had more success in the NFL than he did in college football. But you look at these guys who've now been on this thing multiple years. You mentioned Alex Brown. And I also loved Alex Brown was on the front end of the trend of defensive linemen. Didn't he wear 13? And he just looked like a dude wearing a team number, right?
Yes. Now, he did wear number 13. I think he only wore that like his last year, though. I don't think he wore it a whole career.
But Brian, there are so many guys that you go, How in the world is that guy not in the Hall of Fame? Guys like Kajana Carter, who was part of that Penn State 94 run that just was amazing. And he was standing behind, I think they went top 3 in the draft. It was Kerry Carter, or Kerry Collins, Kajana Carter, and then wasn't the wide receiver like Ingram? Bobby Ingram may have been third.
Yes. Bobby Ingram with an E.
Yes.
If I'm remembering correctly.
Ken Dorsey still hasn't been inducted. We go back to the SEC and guys like Alan Faneca and Willie Gault. And I mean,
Garrison Hurst,
John Henderson. I mean, he's got a
Big
connection with SEC now, but Josh Heupel has not been in. And he was, I mean, in 2000, he was a Heisman runner-up and won the Walter Camp Award. Mark Ingram. And arguably the two biggest outside, well, my personal biggest pet peeve is Takeo Spikes, the Auburn linebacker. But and you mentioned this as we were kind of doing a little show pro. He's great on the SEC network.
I like him a lot.
And still has that trapezoid head that I want zero. I'm calling him Mr. Spikes, and I'm 20 years his elder. I mean, there's no way I am doing anything in my power to offend that guy.
Well, go ahead. Sorry.
Here are 4 names that have to be in. And then you start looking about, okay, well, Saban and Oscar Liar have got unbelievable resumes and you don't know how many people they do or do not take. Sean Taylor at Miami is not in.
Oh, he's got to be in.
Manti Te'o is on his first year on the ballot.
I don't know that he's first ballot.
Brother, listen to this stat. 2012 unanimous first-team All-American and became the first player in the history of college football to sweep the Maxwell, the Walter Camp, the Bednarik, the Butkus, the Lombardi, and the Nagurski Award in the same season.
The same season he was talking to
he got catfished. I'm not saying he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be
Common Sense Hall of Fame.
Chuck Woolery back in 2-2 on Love Connection Hall of Fame. What I'm saying is that dude was amazingly accomplished. And then here are maybe my 2 biggest egregious omissions that are still on the ballot. Michael Vick and Peter Warwick.
Oh, yeah.
Peter Warwick was.
Yes.
I mean, and everybody who watches us knows you are not afraid to take shots at Florida State, but Peter Warwick was him when he was in college.
Yes, he was. In fact, the 98 game, which ended up FSU beating Florida, I was at this game in the rain, and they got to play Tennessee for the national title out in Phoenix. And the Rooster, who was their quarterback, rest in peace, passed away a month or 2 back. But Florida was up 12-6 at halftime, and the Rooster threw a ball out in the flat, and Marquand Manuel, it hit him right in the hands, and he had nothing but grass in front of him. He picks that off. I believe he goes to the house, and Florida's up 19-6, and with a third-string quarterback in the Rooster in the rain, I don't know that FSU rallies, and that was back when Florida we still owned Tennessee, but we really owned them then, and we would have beaten Tennessee. I mean, I felt like that cost us the national title. Well, when it went through Marquand Manuel's hands, it landed in a dude named Peter Warwick's hands over on the sideline. So I'm at like the 15-yard line. He catches it at like the 25 on the other sideline. By the time he put on some joystick moves, he was coming over to my pylon where I was sitting on the other side of the field for a touchdown. It was a wild play, and obviously he had a fantastic career. But my biggest omission Although I like the two that you just said, Peter Warwick and Michael Vick. They should definitely be in. But the one that bothers me perhaps even more, Kellen Moore. So at Boise State, and they always played tough games early in the year. I remember they won against Virginia Tech in Landover, Maryland. They went to the Georgia Dome in front of 70,000 Georgia fans and beat the brakes off of Georgia in a season opener. He went, let's see, 24-36. His record as a starter in college was 50-3. And
First dude to win 50 and has the highest career winning percentage in college football at 94.3%.
And 142 touchdown passes compared to 28 interceptions and a 69.8 career completion percentage, 14,667 yards. Wow. What if
Lowest career INT percentage is still in NCAA history at less than 0.2%. His interception percentage is barely over the legal limit back when you and I were in college.
So let me ask you this. Back then, because, if Colin Kaepernick doesn't lead Nevada to an overtime win at Boise, they might have got in the BCS game one year. Where were you? Did you think they would have had a chance against like an Alabama? And with those teams were really, really good.
No, I don't think so, because I think every time they got to a place where, and I don't necessarily remember if Kellen Moore was QB1 when the Ian Johnson kid scored on the
Zabransky. No, that was the last year of Jared Zabransky. Then it was
okay.
Moore.
Well, they a whole lot of Boise State's success back then were in games that they really got overlooked and had a chip on their shoulder. You go into a playoff environment, and I think it's going to happen a whole lot when whoever this group of 5 gets into the expanded college football playoff starting next year with 12 teams. They're going to be the 12th seed, and they're going to go play a 5 seed on the road, and that line's going to be 24.5, and I'm going to lay the number, because if those people aren't sleepwalking on you, you just don't have the dudes. And especially that gap is going to only grow as the portal continues. And I know we're going to talk about LSU, but they've now taken their next round of wide receiver ones, who are probably going to be NFL dudes, are dudes who transferred from Liberty and Louisiana. And that's only going to continue to happen, because the Power 4 schools, still gets a little awkward saying Power 4, but those schools are the ones who can offer way, 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 way more, and not only NIL, but starting next year in the revenue share.
Yeah, and we saw Liberty get smashed by Oregon in the Fiesta Bowl last year, and Liberty's got a good shot this year, but just they play nobody. But I would actually like it to be a one-loss G5 team, like a Memphis or whoever. I haven't done a lot of my G5 prep, but that Liberty team has a great chance to go undefeated this year because their schedule is just garbage. I think like App State's their toughest opponent. All right, moving on. Let's just talk about the College World Series odds, because we have 5 SEC teams in. So our good friends at Bet Online, they have the co-favorites. Now, obviously, we're not even to Omaha yet. We've got the Super Regionals coming up, but these are the odds to win in Omaha among the teams that are remaining. Tennessee and Texas A&M are the plus 300 co-favorites. Then you've got the Noles at plus 700, North Carolina plus 800, Kentucky plus 900, Virginia and Georgia are both plus 1,000 or 10-1. Then Clemson at 12-1, Oregon State 14-1, NC State 22-1. The Gators are 25-1, and then everybody else is 55-1 or longer. I know nothing about college baseball, so I'll let Jay give all the analysis here.
Well, I think a couple things to keep an eye on. One, you do know this about college baseball. in the grand scheme of things, we talk frequently about the high school recruiting in football in the states of Texas and California and Louisiana and those guys who have fertile recruiting ground. Nobody has better high school baseball than the state of Georgia. Period. End of conversation.
Cobb
Exclamation
County.
point. Cobb County, in and of itself, had like a 20-year run of first round picks who played high school baseball there.
Yeah.
So Georgia not being in a every year scenario of contending for a College World Series berth with the Hope Scholarship and with that talent base in state is inexcusable. And now they're doing it with a guy who is arguably the best hitter college football has seen since Pete Incaviglia, which is a 1985 Oklahoma State name that will blow everybody's hair back. And don't ask me to spell it. But I think Georgia those are nice odds on Georgia. Tennessee's odds, they're the 1 seed overall, and they got the Evansville Aces, which was a 4 seed coming out of the regional into the super regional. They'll probably start before this hits the streets today. But you and I were both stunned that the line on from our friends at Bet Online was Tennessee minus 4.5, which that's a football line like Tennessee minus 45. And
Right.
Because it's just mind-boggling. I think 4 of the 5 SEC teams get there. I think Florida may have a little bit of an uphill battle, but I think Georgia's really good. I think Texas A&M's really good. I think Kentucky's really disciplined, and Tennessee mashes baseballs, man. I think because of the way the offense, I hate to pick chalk, but I think this could be Tony Vitello in his team's year going into Knoxville. They're going to be well rested. They're going to come in there with a whole lot of momentum. And I just think they believe in each other to a place that is different over the last handful of years of success that Tony V's had in Knoxville.
Yeah. They didn't even get to Omaha last year, did they?
I don't think so.
But weren't they like one of the top teams in the country all year? Yeah,
yes.
I remember.
But I think they've gotten there 2 of the last 3 or 2 of the last 4. And I mean, they've got it. He has done an amazing job of getting this to an expectation of not only do we get into the postseason, we get into the postseason planning our trip to Omaha. And I will say this, 30 years ago, we followed Auburn out to Omaha, and it was a great trip. Auburn went 0-2 and got dismissed early. But Georgia
that's more time at the bar.
Oh, no, not only the bar. You drive about 45 minutes north to Iowa. At that point, they had like an Indian casino.
Oh, y'all play blackjack. There you go.
Yeah, man, we were ready. We were just flipping cards and I'd start losing and I'd go, how did that happen? No, I'm sorry.
Outstanding. All right. LSU Tigers. They were very, very good friends of ours last year. They went 10-3 straight up, 8-4 against the spread, 11-1 to the over is the main reference. But you and I both were starting to get in on the Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors player prop overs toward the end as well. I know we've talked about it a few times on the show here. Basically, I was taking Jaden Daniels rushing yards prop over like every week.
But I got him really early in Heisman odds.
That's right. I forgot about
that. I mean, I got him at plus 600 in late September Heisman odds just because they were asking him to do so much, and he had those weapons. I mean, you got 2 NFL first rounders on the perimeter, and you're a top 5 quarterback. I mean, that's a recipe for cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Yeah. So Brian Kelly got hired at the same time Billy Napier, and Napier is 11-14, 7-14 against Power 5. Brian Kelly is 20-7 straight up. He is 16-10 ATS, and the over his first year was on a 7-1 run at the end of the year. So the over, wait a second, I said the over 11-1 last year. Is that not counting the bowl game? Okay, that's not counting the bowl game. So that's wrong. It's 12-1. They went to the over because the bowl game of Wisconsin flew over, or didn't fly over, but it got over. So let me correct myself. So 12-1 last year, and then the 7-1 at the end. So it is on a 19-2 run.
Is that
That
good,
is
Brian? Is
that's
that is
pretty.
that is that
I
going
don't
to
know.
pay bills?
19-2 is a percentage that I can live with for a long, long time. Live very lavishly.
Somewhere,
All right.
somewhere in the cosmos, Jimmy the Great's going. Yes, I would
Yeah,
like 19
yeah, yeah. 19-2. Yeah, that's good. All right, here's our friends at Bet Online. Okay, they have only 2 game spreads right now for LSU, and that is a game I might be going to. I'll be in Vegas. It's a Sunday night game. LSU -6.5 to USC, which was another one of our over friends last year and went 9-3 to the over. I will point out on that LSU has lost 4 season openers in a row. FSU the last 2 years, UCLA out at UCLA, Orgeron's last year, and then the COVID season they opened against Mike Leach and Mississippi State. Leach's first game at Mississippi State, and they just got lit up, 44-34 home loss. So LSU has been horrible in season openers um, the last 4 years. So that makes me think that I'll probably just be betting the over with LSU and USC. The other game for Bet Online, LSU -2.5 at home to Alabama on November 9th. Okay, Bet Online has got these odds for LSU to make the CFP +140, to win it all 20-1, which is actually a tie for the 6th shortest odds, to win the SEC +950. That's the 5th shortest odds. Garrett Nussmeier to win the Heisman 22-1, and the season win total 9.5, shaded to the under -130. It's a +100 even money for the over. All right, DraftKings has got more games of the year lines that I'll mention here. LSU -2.5 at home to Ole Miss on October 12th, -9 at Arkansas the following week, +3 at A&M the following week. Then Alabama and LSU are both off with 2 weeks to prepare for each other. DraftKings has that line, LSU -1. And then at Florida, November 16th, LSU's -5.5. And then at home in the regular season finale, November 30th, LSU is -5 to Oklahoma. All right. Any of those numbers standing up? Not the season win total, because we'll go through the schedule here momentarily. But any of those numbers attracting you?
Not overly, because I think such a big question of what this LSU team is going to be how Nussmeier settles into being QB1. And I know he's had some success and was great against a slow Wisconsin defense in the bowl game. But this is a really a blank slate that we're going to see a whole lot about Brian Kelly, in my opinion. Because do they have talent? Sure. Do they lose a lot of talent? Absolutely. With the 2 first-round wide receivers, a Heisman quarterback, and your top running backs in Oxford. So, I mean, the conversation here is not necessarily what they have going into September. It's what do we think they can be?
Yeah, that defense was so atrocious last year.
Yes.
So they fire the DC, and they go and get Missouri's DC, Blake Baker, who kind of had a breakout year with Missouri, with them winning 11 games last year. But so I was looking at what they did in the portal, and so this is all according to the 247 Sports composite. So they have the number 9 overall recruiting class, but their transfer specific group, which was in the top 3 or 4 the previous 2 years, is only number 43. They only went and got 9 transfers, and I would have thought they would have gone and got a lot more, defensive guys. So of the 38 commits, and again 9 are transfers, 1 5-star, 22 4-stars, 14 3-stars. Of the 29 freshmen, 20 of 29 are early enrollees. However, they're only 5-star in the class. Freshman D lineman Dominique McKinley, who's 18 number overall player in the country, he was not an early enrollee. So that kind of concerns me in terms of him being a factor early. You would have liked him to be in spring ball. And I'm going to throw it back to you here in a second. But let me mention a couple of the wide receivers they got to hopefully replace Neighbors and Brian Thomas's production. They got Liberty wide receiver C.J. Daniels, who had 55 catches, 1,067 yards, 10 touchdowns last season. He was injured or only played 4 games injured the year before, and in 2021, 37 catches, 634 yards, 7 touchdowns. So this guy's a player. They also got Mississippi State wide receiver Xavion Thomas, who as a sophomore last year had 40 catches, 503 yards, and 1 touchdown, but he's a big-time special teams guy as well. 10 career kick returns, 1 touchdown, 29.7 yard kick return average, and a 1 punt return for a touchdown, and a 12.6 yard punt return average for his career. They got a safety, a 4-star safety. These are the 4-star transfers. Those 2 wide receivers, Thomas and Daniels, and the 4-star safety from A&M in Jordan Gilbert, who was hurt most of last year, but he had 61 tackles, 2 picks, and 4 pass breakups as a sophomore in 2022. All right, there's just some personnel stuff. You mentioned Logan Diggs going to Ole Miss. So the leading returning rusher, Josh Williams, only had 284 rushing yards. So I'm concerned about the defense. If Xavion Thomas and C.J. Daniels end up being good, because they still have Kyron Lacey, who had 30 catches, 558 yards, and 7 touchdowns last year. I think the receivers, it's going to be a downgrade, but receivers still should be pretty good. But the defense, and I don't know about the running backs. Although, look, throw me a 3-star Louisiana running back, and I think you're probably going to be okay.
Yeah, because I'm not going to tackle him. And he's probably wrestled alligators. And there's a real good chance that he's got a whole lot of vowels in his name, and he's faster than a commercial break during a U.S. presidential debate. So the conversation here, I think, is a couple of directions. One, it centers on Nussmeier, who, they're going to have to do something different offensively because Jarrett Daniels bailed them out when things broke down. Jarrett Daniels won them the Missouri game. Jarrett Daniels kept them in countless other games. Jaden Daniels, he was an absolute
monster.
Dude. Short list of best guys. And I know he had 2 NFL future stars on the perimeter, but that was an amazing year. An amazing year. There's no way Nussmeier matches that. And I can't help it, but every time I say Nussmeier, it makes me want to go old school Animal House and go Niedermeyer, dead man. Marmalade, dead. Dean Wormer, dead. Who's with me? Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Hell no! No, it's not over. But he can't physically do the things that they had at quarterback last year. And now they're going to ask him to go over in almost every game, because, again, your questions about the defense are fair, with less weapons or weapons not as good at the other skill position spots. Don't get me wrong, Will Campbell may be the 2nd or 3rd player picked in the draft. The tackle, he is bona fide. Harold Perkins has been a guy But you know what? Harold Perkins wasn't that big of a difference maker last year. At least as big of that I thought he was going to be.
They had him playing out of position, in my opinion.
Well,
Let him just rush the passer every play.
Go get him. I mean, it's it's awkward that like the best pass rusher potential athlete on the field is a guy named Harold. No offense to Harolds out there, but you just don't. I mean, who's the last really good Harold playing in the NFL? Harold Carmichael, the 6'9" wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles.
The only one I can think of, Harold Carmichael.
I just don't have a whole lot of Harolds going up and down headed to Canton. So this is a tough ask. I mean, I don't think USC is going to be as good as they were last year because they lost the number 1 pick at quarterback. I don't know how good UCLA is going to be, but those are at least. I mean, you're not playing directional schools out of Mississippi or MTSU per se. I mean, they're going to have better athletes than a lot of non-conference teams across the SEC. And while I don't think LSU has the hardest schedule before we go through it line by line, it's nowhere near as easy as what Missouri is. And man, oh man, those win the league playoff odds are pretty inflated, in my opinion. About only plus 140 for LSU to get in the playoff. I would have thought it was going to be closer to plus 700.
No, I agree. Yeah, don't bet plus 140. This team's not a playoff team, I don't think. Were you done there?
Yeah.
Or, okay. Well, I was just going to say I was being kind of negative. I'm glad you brought up Will Campbell and not just and Harold Perkins because those are two of the best players in the country. And let's also point out, at least according to Lindy's preseason magazine, that the other offensive tackle, Emory Jones, they have him ranked as the 4th best offensive tackle in the country. He's played every snap in 16 of 17 games against SEC opponents. And I was just looking for, we'll get into that schedule right now. Do you have anything to comment on before we go game by game here? Or are we good?
No, but unlike a lot of teams, I mean, we did Missouri last week, and it was like 5 weeks into the season before they had to even get on a plane, right?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you look, and I know we're going to go game by game, but LSU goes to Vegas on a Sunday night, gets a dunk against Nichols, and then has to go play its conference opener to a South Carolina team that really is going to be desperate to try to get to 6 wins. And what better than early in the year with Niedermeyer struggling to find his footing?
Right. I think he struggled in the first half against Wisconsin last year, but I think Niedermeyer's going to be good. I mean, obviously,
right, we need to call him Nussmeier because I don't want LSU fans to be thinking we're picking on him. And
right.
My movie references aside, he is Nussmeier because, I mean, for God's sakes, his dad, the kid's been learning how to play quarterback since he was like -8 years old.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You think about Animal House, and I think about 2015, 16, and 17, and 3 worst offenses I've ever seen, and McElwain would not fire his OC named Doug Nussmeier, who I have never – you know how when they have the ball on the hash on the far side, there's no bigger pet peeve for me than when they call a running play to the short side. It drives me bonkers, and Nussmeier did it constantly. All right, so yeah, USC in Vegas. I think USC is going to – now their quarterback looked great in the bowl game, but I don't think USC is going to be that good this year. And when does Lincoln Riley start getting on the hot seat if they're not good this year?
I mean, it's a fair question. and
Yeah.
USC is about to bite off a little more than they're expecting because they're going. Hey, you want to talk about a team that's going to go over a bunch? Lincoln Riley is going to be drawing up ball plays and getting guys in route combinations and whatever else, and then Wisconsin and Minnesota and Michigan State are going to run between the tackles, and those kids aren't going to be able to tackle those big fellas coming through the Big Ten.
Right. I'm going to FanDuel right now because I think they have totals up, and I want to see what this total for LSU. And all right, here we go. 66.5, but
It'll get to 70 before kick.
yeah. All right. So yeah, I'm going to be on over 66.5 that game. Just for conversation purposes, I'm going to say LSU will win outright, but I'm not betting on LSU in week 1 for a long time because I lost both those FSU games. Now I actually had Mississippi State in that game 4 years ago. But I had them at UCLA when they got killed. They couldn't tackle. So I'm 1-3 ATS their last 4 openers. So it'll just be the over for me there. Are you going to give them the outright win there?
I think it's going to be close. I agree completely with what you said. I think it's going to be closer than the 6.5. But I will shade LSU because I think they're better across both front lines than what USC has attracted over the last handful of years. But you want to talk about a swing game for two programs who are going to be familiar picks and have had presence in playoff conversations. Whatever team walks out of there 0-1 before they even start conference, you're staring at 7-5 and going to the Sun Bowl.
Ooh, El Paso? Eesh, yikes. Yeah, that one's a big one. Miami, Florida's a big one in week 1, just for the direction of those programs as well. So, but we are going to give LSU a win from both of us there, and then we'll go 2-0 to Nichols at South Carolina.
See, I think this is more dangerous than USC is. The other USC is more dangerous because it is a bona fide road game going over there for what is an 11 a.m. sleepwalk potential kickoff for Central Time Zone SEC league members. And South Carolina's going to be starving, man. They are. And
is Lenoris Sellers, is he going to be the starting QB?
I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll break them down later.
Yeah.
I think I would have to lean towards LSU, but which takes us kind of into steps. I don't think UCLA is going to have anything to win on the road, and we know South Alabama is not going to have anything, which takes them to 5-0.
And I know you like Ole Miss to drill them there.
Yes.
So I agree on the 5-0. I'm going to give them a win against South Carolina and UCLA. I'm going to call Ole Miss a swing game for now. At Arkansas, I'm going to say that's a win. What do you think?
Well, I think Arkansas is a win, but it also has a lot to do with what Ole Miss is. And I'll ask you this now. This works against the home game in Red Stick. That likely is going to be the afternoon kick, right?
Oh, the 3:30 Eastern game for Ole Miss, LSU?
Well, if it's going to be the marquee afternoon game, LSU. If LSU's 5-0 and Ole Miss is what we think they could be, then you're talking about two teams that are assuredly top 10, if not top 5.
Yeah, and Georgia plays Mississippi State that week, and Alabama plays South Carolina. So that's Ole Miss and LSU. Oh, let me see who Texas plays. But yeah.
Now it may be with the changing of the guard of what our regular expectation is, that could very well be ABC or ESPN putting that in prime time.
Wait, October 12th is Texas, Oklahoma, and it says 3:30. We found that out last week. So, yeah, the Ole Miss LSU will be a prime time then, the prime time game. probably ABC. Yep. All right. So, did you give them a win at Arkansas?
Yeah, I'm gonna give them a win at Arkansas because I just, although you want to talk about a number I love, I don't even know what that over is, but whenever it gets posted, if it's under 70 on what Bobby Petrino is going to be able to do against a tired LSU defense that's coming off a loss to Ole Miss at home on a coaching staff starving, buckle up. Petrino will put 35 on them, and I still think LSU will cover.
So I'm gonna kind of go off topic real quick. I mean, the first thing I thought of when Petrino was hired as OC, well, good hire by Sam Pittman, but if and when Pittman gets fired and it's because the defense is and they're losing close games and the offense is thriving, Petrino is going to be named the interim head coach, and he's going to end up keeping that job, right?
I'm looking for any opportunity that we can recycle those
the content.
Of him in the neck brace with the facial abrasions, looking like a lobster, and trying to explain about the motorcycle ride with the volleyball player and her boyfriend and all the other alleged and reported different angles to that soap opera. I mean,
it was content gold. Gold.
Dude, if your scenario plays out, can you imagine working that beat with Calipari coaching the basketball team and Petrino coaching the football team?
Wow, that would be fun. Yeah, I know a couple of people that are on that beat.
that's like Donovan and Meyer overlapping in Gainesville, right?
Well, let's go with Donovan Spurrier being the main event, but
okay,
I hear you. Okay, so I got LSU losing at A&M.
Yeah, I did too.
Okay, then 2 weeks to prepare for Bama at home.
Give me the better quarterback. I mean, I think both those teams have a whole lot of question marks, but I'll take Jalen Milroe every day of the week over Nussmeier.
I'm going to lean Bama too. At Florida, I think that's a game Florida could maybe win if they get one of those November games. That might be the one. Let's see who Florida's got the week before. Florida has, just at Texas a week after playing Georgia.
That's an LSU win. But here's the thing, though. If they go 1-3 of the Ole Miss, win at Arkansas, lose at A&M, and lose to Bama at home, one, you're already under the 9.5.
Yeah.
Two, if Will Campbell and Harold Perkins and whichever wide receiver is going to be, LSU is going to have a projected first-round wide receiver until my kids have kids. I mean, that's just – they've got dudes down there running patterns and making catches that they just don't have everywhere else. I'm at an age now when those guys look up and your conference title dreams are dashed. Your playoff dreams are dashed.
Right.
You got a whole lot of guys looking out for, you know what? Probably going to sit the next couple one out, Coach. Do the Dangerfield from Caddyshack. My arm is broken. And I mean, who knows what happens if this thing unravels in November? Because if you and I, and we're in agreement of a 1-3 stretch from October 12th to November 9th, if they do win at Florida, they will house Vandy. They still have an Oklahoma team who may have a whole lot to play for.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that I'm not necessarily penciling in a for sure win, not only at Florida, but also versus Oklahoma. And I'm ready to officially say that I like under 9.5.
I'm with you. I'm completely with you. And I think you and I talked about it. We're going to need to do a better job of maybe like putting across the scroll in coming weeks who we were hedging, because there are a finite number of wins out there. So you can't say everybody's over.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, okay, who do you like and who do you not? I tell you who the two I'm most bullish on that we have discussed.
Ole Miss and Missouri.
Bingo, bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo, bingo.
Yes. And I've already bet both of those.
So have I.
Yeah. So, but I, I'm not saying I love the under, but I mean, look, at A&M, the Bama game and the Ole Miss game, I'm not saying that definitely lose all those, but those are potential L's. Oklahoma at home is a potential L. At Florida is a potential L. The USC game and the at South Carolina game, we gave them to LSU, but those are going to be ball games. So,
well, I mean, you're talking about even at Arkansas is still a single-digit spread. Now,
Arkansas played them. Remember, Arkansas played them to overtime last year in Baton Rouge.
Played them to overtime. It feels like every year.
Yeah, the year before was that defensive struggle that KJ didn't even play. If KJ plays that game, I think it was like 13-3 LSU, something like that. Anywho. All right. So there we are. We both like the under. So let's wrap this bad boy up. I mean, I didn't even really watch the second half of the NBA Finals last night because that was – well, I take that back. I watched it when they cut it to 8, but then it was a 14-0 run for Boston. So I didn't really watch the fourth quarter. That was an ass beating. I lost. I had the Mavs.
I actually was on the other side of that.
Good call by you.
I think Porzingis is a twofold edge for Boston in that it allows your boy Al Horford to come in and give 12 to 15 great minutes as opposed to being asked at almost 40 years old to try to go up and down the floor for 30 minutes. So
that's a very
I've got this theory that if you've got a great starting pitcher and he can be your one and you're comfortable with him against everybody else's one, it makes everybody else better. When you can do that in your NBA rotation, and instead of Horford being your 3 or 4 option, he now can be your 7 or 8 option because of size and position. You are infinitely better and so much harder to guard.
And Porzingis announced his return from a 37-day layoff with authority in the first quarter. He hit 4 of his first 5 shots. He had 13 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 block shots in the first quarter. And they went from being up 1 when he came in with 7:17 left in the first to being up 17 at the end of the first quarter. So he made his presence felt right away. And yeah, so now my outlook on this series is completely changed. Like I thought if Boston won game 1 that we'd be looking at Dallas. I didn't want to bet Dallas. I thought Dallas was going to win the series. I didn't want to bet them at plus 160 for the series because I figured if they lost a close game last night, I could get them like plus 220 or plus 230 going to game 2. No. The new series price, minus 420 for Boston, plus 330 for Dallas. But no thanks. And Kyrie Irving.
I wrote in Jay's plays, my afternoon email you can sign up for at timesfreepress.com. I've got Dallas in 5 at plus 400 or under 5.5 games.
How you feeling on that one?
No, not Dallas. I'm sorry. I meant Boston.
Oh, okay.
No. I'd be feeling terrible if I had Dallas. I had Boston. I've been writing the whole time that it's a terrible matchup because, and they proved it last night. Tatum is long enough and athletic enough to frustrate Luka. I mean, Luka had 1 assist.
Yeah, and I looked that up. It was a season low, and it was only the 5th time all year that he had less than 5 assists. Like he has 5 assists in every game except for 5 the whole year. That's insane.
And I mean, you look up and they had to spend a lot of pieces and a lot of depth to get Kyrie, and it got him out of the Western Conference Finals. But now you get to a team that's welcoming back Porzingis. And now let's remember, these Celtics still don't have Robert Williams, who is a great rebounder and a great rim protector out of Texas A&M, but they're bringing Horford off the bench. Derek White's a dude. The Holiday deal is going to just be one of those you go, that they added a dude right there that helped elevate them to a title.
Yeah, he had a great floor game last night. 5 assists, no turnovers. So I've got an article recapping last night's game, and it's got all the updated odds for the Celtics to win and specific games, the updated NBA Finals MVP odds, etc. You can check that out at Major Wager. All right, tell them about Jay's Plays 5 at 10 before we get going.
Jay's Plays is my afternoon gambling email newsletter you can sign up for. The 5 at 10 is a column I've been writing since 2010. Today, I answer mailbag questions from readers and viewers like you guys, including a visor tip to tonight's final broadcast with Pat Sajak as the host of Wheel of Fortune.
Oh, very nice. Speaking of visor
and if
tips,
you had to go three guys, normally I deal in Rushmores, but if you had to go three guys who were more iconically connected to the game show host role, it's got to be Sajak with the wheel, Bob Barker on The Price is Right,
Jeopardy
and
guy.
Trebek on Jeopardy.
Yep, I agree. I totally agree. If we're giving out hat tips, I'll give one to myself. 3-1 on the UFC picks last week, and one the parlay winner was plus 175. So plus, if you did $100 play on each, you should have won 275 or 2.75 units. Had the Makachev by sub, lost the under on Makachev and Dustin, and I won the Almeida under and the 3 fight parlay. We will be doing the Tennessee.
Brother, hey, I gotta tell you, nobody knows that in my inner circle, nobody knows about grown men in diapers fighting more than you do. And I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult.
I wear it as a badge of honor, my man.
Fair enough.
All right. Next week will be the Tennessee Volunteers preview. For Jay Greeson, I'm Brian Edwards. Thanks for listening. Please hit the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next Friday. Over and out.